You're listening to the What's the Fuzz podcast, where we break you out of your vacuum seal and get down to what's real. Never miss another episode again. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. And now, your host, Reiner.
Hey Fuzz, it was great seeing you again. It's your favorite Blue Dragon here once again, letting you know what's going down. Whether it's your first time or your 100th time, thanks for tuning in. It's February 23rd, 2021 at the time of release of this episode, and it was recorded in late January. Shout out to my listeners in Texas. I know things are tough down there right now, and I'm wishing you all the best. I'll be linking some donation links in the show notes below. If you lovely listeners out there are feeling a little generous, you want to pitch in a few bucks, please feel free. We'll be discussing LGBT plus representation in the media, colorism, and art junk in this episode of What's the Fuzz? Today I'm sitting down with Nat, the feisty kitty with the skilled paw in art and animation. Be sure to catch them over on Twitter at NatCatSama. Link down in the show notes below for your convenience. Thanks so much for coming on the show, by the way, Nat. I'm buzzing with anticipation right now. There's so much to talk about in such little time. I mean, it's 2 hours technically, but it goes by really fast, right?
Kinda, yeah.
First, I'd like to throw a little icebreaker question at you. You ready for it?
Shoot.
All right. So what is something that you've created in a sketch or comic that you desperately wish that you had in real life?
Oof. Definitely what I created in a comic was... Ooh, that's a hard one to choose. I do like the power of electricity the way I did it in a comic, whereas you can use any bit of sparks to travel anywhere you go, because I would never be late anywhere at all, and I can ruin someone's day by just taking their electricity away, and they're just like, hey, wait, my phone was charged, and I'm like, oh yeah, sucks to hear.
Oh, wow. You can be someone's angel or their devil.
I can be your angel or your devil.
Oh my god. Sorry, I had to get the cringe out of the way early in the show. I had to do it. Alright, but that's awesome. So let's get down to the real stuff.
Ooh.
So just to get started with, our listeners like to know a little bit about our guests. So where are you from? How old are you? What are your pronouns? What's your ethnicity? And how would you describe your sexuality/gender identity if you're feeling comfortable with that?
Oh, wow. Wow, that's like, sorry, that's like the typical list. Okay. My name's Nat. I am from New York City. You know, the one where they're like, it's so pretty in the movies, and if you live here, you're like, yeah, that's cute. But, I recently turned 23 in December 29th. I am, very much black. I ain't getting no darker. For my gender and sexuality, oof. So, like, the best way I can start with is my sexuality. I'm very much bi. I go, hey, that gal, guy, non-binary pal is very, snacky. And that is where I'm at. That is literally how my mind goes. And I'm like, that's neat. So anyway,
you see a snack, you grab a snack, right?
Yeah. You know, we gotta go to the snack bar. However, I am in a committed relationship. Wow. Sorry, I was going somewhere with this. I'm in a committed relationship, even though, like, I'm recently learning that I am polyamorous. I very much am in love with my partner. For my gender, I argue with that every day. So,
yeah, that sounds tiring.
The most comforting thing I can say is I am very much agender, and pronouns are he, him, and they, them.
So, who's your main OC, and how do you feel you express yourself through them?
Well, my main OC is Nat. See, when I was younger, Nat was originally a Sonic character who was she, her, and I would normally express myself through her brother. But
Mm-hmm.
then, like, as I started to get older and I started to feel more comfortable in my own skin, I was like, why can't I be more comfortable in my own OC? And what I started to do in order to feel more comfortable as Nat is that some of the qualities that I had in myself, I would pour more into Nat. So, like, Nat used to be this really smart, cool, amazing, quick witted. And then I look at myself and I'm like, I'm really not any of those things, but we can make it work. And instead, she's like, well, he's sarcastic and he's snarky, he's smart, but it happens in spurts, and even he's taken aback by it. And normally I would be like, oh, well, Nat's just aloof. But now it's like, Nat's just a snarky baby who needs a hug like, at some point. And that's how I started realizing, oh, I can have more fun with this. And even with making, like, Tolly and Shay, I realized, oh, I feel closer to Nat due to, like, the way I just started putting myself into them.
So you started out Blaze the Cat and you came out the Jet Hawk, except you turned to Big the Cat somewhere in there.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
sounds about right. That's pretty cool though.
Thank you.
So would you say that it overall helped your self-image, helped you shape it?
Yeah, like, I used to really tear myself down, especially when I
Mm-hmm.
got into, like, middle school and high school. And then I was like, you know what? This is my OC, and whatever the hell I do with my OC is what I'm going to do with my OC. And then the more I started playing with my OC, the more I started to, like, learn to love myself a bit more and learn to
Mm.
understand that maybe I'm not perfect, but damn, I'm one step closer to it. And that's how I started to, like, learn to be happier with myself, be happier with how I present myself. And it was also how I came to terms with the fact that maybe, just maybe, I am not cis. I am very much agender.
That's some self-care right there. The farther away we can get from cis het, the better off we are.
Which says a lot if you look at it.
It's a disease, I tell you. A disease. Really, though, that is great, though. It can help to have that kind of perspective where you're just looking at yourself, but not looking inwardly at yourself to the point where you start to question your own existence. But
Yeah,
sometimes it could still be like that, though.
yeah, like, it's only how you can have, like, a little bit of existential dread as a treat.
That's the spice of life right there. That's the paprika.
Yeah, of course. You need to add a little seasoning to
Lord knows we season our food.
it.
Okay. I'll stop. All right. So, what brought you to the furry fandom in the first place?
Oog. So, my first, like, little toe dip in the furry fandom was when I was younger. I was, like, I had, like, Sonic artists that I look up to. And
Mm.
I am not proud to admit, but I'm also kind of proud to admit, it was also because I had a weird obsession with, like, Sonic '06 and Sly Cooper. And I was just like, wow, I love these guys so much. Wouldn't it be cool if I met them? And then I did nothing but make comics of me meeting them. And then on DeviantArt,
Oh.
not not a good site to start, won't lie. Like, it's a great site when you're starting out and posting your art and you want to be great, but
Mm.
the amount of things I saw in there, because I was a kid who tried to pry their way into spaces I did not belong. Children, please don't do that. Uh, but I would go on there and I would find artists, and one who used to be a huge fave of mine, but as I got older, I was like, eek, yikes, was, he's well known in the furry community. I think it's like Jay Naylor, I believe. And then I realized,
Wait,
oof,
what?
yeah. I saw his, like,
Wait, he was Sonic?
no, he was on like the furry side because I started wandering way too far, and then I saw his
Oh,
like safer work stuff, and I was like, oh,
oh.
this is cool. I want to make stuff like that. And then I got older and learned about him, and I was like, whoa. But Sonic and Sly was my toe dip into the fandom, and then I just fell in the pool and did not swim back up.
Well, it started out pretty wholesome, but I guess you got a little too big for your britches there.
Yeah, the britches was falling down to my ankles multiple times.
Okay,
Yikes. That
that's
was
the
not smart.
visual I was not gonna. All right, all right. You whiling out on the show. I see you, Nat. I see you.
Oh
So
boy.
overall, how long do you think you've been in the fandom? Like encompassing the arc where you were drawing yourself meeting your biggest heroes.
Um, so if I ignore when I started saying, you know what, I should stop drawing that as a Sonic OC and as an actual furry, that would
Mm.
be in middle school, roughly 2010, 2009. Oh my god, that's years ago.
Wow. All these
Um,
furries starting out so young.
yeah, like I was roughly like 11, 12,
Oh
23
no.
now. Um, I can't do math. I promise I'm smarter than this. Um, roughly about, I want to say 12 years? Roughly
It's
12?
been well over a decade at least, right?
Yeah, I've been in this fandom, just haven't seen
Damn.
how big it actually was until like recently.
So what was your perspective before you saw how big it was?
Um, so like when I first came into the fandom, I thought it was pretty fascinating, and I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, these people literally built a fan base out of like just wanting to be a fuzzy animal like me. And then I started looking around and I was just man, it's nice to know that these people are like me, but they're not like me, you know? Like they're not people of color. So I started feeling like, ah ha ha, you know, the old insults of how, oh, that's a white thing. You're doing white people stuff. And I'm just like, man, it sucks because I kind of wish there was more like me. And I would be like in the fandom, but not really in the fandom. So like I'd
Mm,
be
yeah.
like at the very edge of it, trying to dip my toe further, but there was always that barrier of like not seeing people like me in the fandom. Glad that's changed though. Won't lie. Kind of comforting.
It is nice to see people of similar experiences to you
Yeah.
going out there and doing their thing.
Especially knowing hearing about how there are people like you in the fandom who are well known in the fandom, and it's just like you just haven't turned your head over here yet, and it's like
Mm.
really comforting. And it's like, wow, so there are others like me. So then why doesn't it feel like that? Why is it that I have to dig and find these people?
You know, some people would say that we're a little underground.
We're
Imagine that.
the
Hmm.
fringe group.
The fringe of the cringe, yeah.
I actually like that.
Copyrighted, please don't steal. Anyway, so would you say that being part of the fandom has changed your life in any meaningful way?
I will not lie, it has. I have met some really amazing people. I've met some people who I will squint at for the rest of my life. But I've also been inspired by not only how many people who are here before and what kind of stuff they create, but also the stories of the fact that younger people are getting into it and are becoming a part of the fandom, and they're trying to help change it for the better. We do have our moments where we have to, you know, come together as a fandom and talk about the actual things that go on here, but
Hmm.
it definitely push me to become a better me. I will not lie. Like, I've normally been the type to just go, oh, that's happening. Maybe if I turn a blind eye, I probably won't run into that. But, like, after getting into the fandom, I've realized, no, I really want to make a change and be a good change in this space that I'm occupying right now.
That's as good as I could think to hope that would be good. I
Yeah.
think. Like honestly, if something inspires you to be a better person and inspire change in others for the better,
Yeah,
then that is pretty damn good as far as a fandom's concerned.
yeah, it's like top tier. Can't really say that much about other places.
Yeah, like even in the Steven Universe fandom or something, you hear more about like toxicity and bad things
Yeah,
that come out of it. But with the furry fandom, we're really trying to push for the positive outlook, even
yeah.
if there are a lot of detractors.
Like, there's a lot of, like, terrible things happening out there, but that doesn't mean you have to feed into it. That means you just have to, like, help make things better.
Exactly. So, in that, would you also say that being a furry is an integral part of your person?
Um, I would, and I also wouldn't. Like,
Hmm.
it is a part that has shaped me, and without it, I probably wouldn't be the same person I am today. But I also know that, like, it's not that much of a core part of me. Like, there's so much more to me than just, like, furry. But I can't say that without furry, I can still be me, like, where I am right now. Like, outside of furry, I'm still Nat. I'm still a mess in some
Hmm.
parts. But I can't deny the fact that furry has shaped me the way it has shaped me. So it's a little bit of a yes and no question.
Where do you feel you fit into the fandom?
Hmm. So, like, there's, like, I'm just going to put it in, like, kind of stacks so I can visualize it easier. So, like, there's,
Sure.
like, the top of the top of the top where, like, I don't know, God status. There we go. Where he does no wrong, even though he probably kicked that one homeless man in the ribs. That would be the tippity
Ah.
top.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the somewhat up there is popular, but still kind of people. Hold them accountable, and will actually hold them accountable. And there's, like, the normal level where you're just like, all right, so, like, they're pretty cool, but they're not that big, so there's just, like, normal people. And then there's, like, the bottom where it's just like, newbie, baby, little baby man here. And I'm, like, in between that level and the one where it's, like, the normal people wandering around who are, like, just chilling. And I'm just looking around like, hi, hello here. See that little circle on that in between line? That's me. It's my little circle there.
So you're saying you're above crustacean levels.
Like, I'm not a newbie, but I am definitely not on the level where it's just like, yeah, I'm comfortable, chill, vibing. I'm just like, teetering the line. Built a little
I
house there.
I get where you're coming from. I just thought that since you were an artist, you'd have like a little bit more cred or something. Something like that. Is that how it works?
I have no clue. I'm just
Uh,
like, yeah, maybe if I draw a couple of furries doing some furry things, maybe it'll draw some attention. And it considerably has. Like, I'm very thankful with, like, the popularity of game. It scares me a little bit because I'm just like, oh, wait, there's a whole lot of discomfort here. Because the last time I remember, like, having a full concrete understanding of my follower count was roughly when I was at 500, and I was just like, okay, I'm not somebody to be like, oh, it's just a dude, but I'm at, oh, and now I look at my follower account and I see, like, 800 people, and I'm like, oh no, that's a lot of eyes. Ah. Like, I can't really contextualize the fact that there are at least 800 people who are just like, man, I dig this person's art. And I have to sit there and go, 800 people follow me on Twitter. Wow. Okay. Um, Hi. I promise I post art, but have some opinions that probably aren't okay. Not the ones where you go, that furry should probably seek help. The one where I'm just like, yeah, the show was actually terrible, and the fact that you like it means that you were hopped up on nostalgia. That kind of mess.
When your life turns into the Patrick meme.
Yeah, and you're just like, who are you people?
And it
And
keeps happening every time you look at your follower count. It keeps growing. Like, where are you coming from?
and my mom is like, you should feel proud, and I'm like, I kind of feel scared. There's a lot of people following me. What if I go, haha, I'm gonna post this art, and I have a bad habit of trying to post one thing, but my computer goes, you know what? So I know that you have tried to post this really cool thing here, but what if we just posted this awful, terrible meme that your friend sent you in Discord? And all for your 800 followers to see, so I have to do the click and then double click and then double click just to make sure. Please don't post some unsavory things.
Yeah, I'm sure they appreciate whatever you putting out. Anything you're putting out, they just take it. They're
That
hungry.
I'm very appreciative, because there was a time where I was just like, man, I should quit art, and I just kept going, and I'm really happy to be here. Also terrified, but very happy.
So you give the fandom art and animations and tasty, delicious gushies, and then the fandom gives you back acknowledgement and praise sometimes if you're good.
Was a room for a joke there. And as a child of God, I will not go for that joke.
I could not imagine what you were about to say. I think only pure thoughts, unlike some people in this conversation. Would you say that being an artist is the main focus right now, or do you do it alongside other things?
um, mm, I would say, yeah, for the most part, because despite me enjoying drawing furry art on the side and all that, I've always wanted to be an animator, part of a animation studio.
Mm-hmm.
But for the meantime, I'm just like, why not just have some fun while I'm here, and I can use some of the examples that I do for my reel, because some of the stuff that I animate, like one where I animated a dragon coming out of a pillar of flame with a ring around fire, and then zooming towards the viewer and the thing ending in flames, and I was just like, yeah, dude, that's sick. Put that on your portfolio reel. And I was just like, yeah, I'm just throw that on my portfolio reel. And it's the goal right now, but because not a lot of opportunities coming in, I
Mm-hmm.
do enjoy doing stuff on the side. I work on making my own fur head. Processes that has paused, and I've been trying to practice, getting into new instruments like the ukulele and the guitar. And but mostly, yeah, being an artist is my main goal right now.
Fair enough. Did you have any concerns or hopes for the fandom moving forward?
I have many, but since this is it's a 2-hour show, I'm not going to go in there and go bonkers. Um, my main goals is that I'm watching how the fandom is operating. You know, roughly, I want to say, yeah, I'm in the thicket of it, but I won't lie, I'm not. I'm always watching from the sidelines, trying not to get too involved, because while I do care for the community, outside of my online life. People at home who I thoroughly care about, and they need me there too. And I can't be drained by one aspect while working on another aspect that needs my energy too. So,
Mm-hmm.
The changes I do want to see, definitely, if because we market the furry community as, and I say market, use it loosely, we market it as a welcoming space for all. And the love and tolerance thing is played out. I will not lie. It's nice to love and tolerate, but you can't tolerate those who are intolerant, because that's how you invite fascists in, and that's how you ruin this space for a lot of people, and that is how you have a bunch of um we're just going to call them sympathizers for the safety. um I also do want to see change towards, like, when we kick them out, we don't go, well, let's give them a chance. No, I really do want to see people siding with the victims instead of saying, well, they've done this and they said sorry, how can we give them a chance? And I do want them to understand that not everybody who causes harm deserves to be forgiven, and not everybody who causes harm, if they truly want to improve, they shouldn't require an apology. They shouldn't require forgiveness, because that's how we have repeat abusers. That's how we have victims not feeling safe. And it bothers me, like, to no end, to watch it happen over and over again. And only line I can hear in my head is, if you don't learn from history, it'll repeat itself. And that's what we're seeing in real time over and over again. And it's like, we talk about how the furry fandom is getting better, and I mean, it is. We did push out the sympathizers, the alt fur people and the Nazis and those guys, but I feel like we should work a whole lot harder for protecting, you know, black people, indigenous people, people of color. There's often times where we're talking about how this is appropriation, or we don't feel welcome in this space, and people prefer to glance over it and ignore it and go, but I like my comfort space. And it's like, newsflash, we do too. We like this comfort space, but it's not as comforting to us as it is for you. We want it to be comforting for all of us. Therefore, we have to respect all of us. And the only way you can do that is actually listening to the victims, listening to those who are being harmed within the fandom. And that's how we can actually make it a better place. Especially for, like, minors in the fandom. It's like, we want them to feel safe and have their own comfort space while not invading adult spaces, but we allow people who like to dabble in, as they like to call it, problematic content that puts those minors at risk. And we have cons who allow dangerous people towards minors come in over and over again rather than put them on the ban list. And that's not how you create a welcoming community. That's just going soft. That's allowing your morals to be bended by people who can give you something to consume. And that's not okay. Like, you can't tout the fandom to be welcoming if this is what you're going to do. So, really, I want people to be held more accountable for the crimes they've actually done. I call it crimes because half of the things they're doing really are crimes. And it's kind of ridiculous to see these same people get support and, as they like to say it, clout, when you have others, their victims, people who look like they're victims, sitting there going, wow, so this is what we're prioritizing. And that can really push away the audience you want to pull in, and that can push away community members who were looking for this place as a safe space for them when they want to escape and realize that they can't escape here too. If that makes sense.
Hey, y'all listeners, you gotta listen to this guy. He knows what's the fuck up. Yo. That was incredible.
It's just like I I'm watching, the more I sit in this fandom, I'm watching how, like, my nephews, they're starting to draw and create their own characters and create their own worlds, and they've seen my Sona multiple times, and they're like, I'll draw them one just like as a way of saying, oh, this is part of Nat's family, and they'll love it. And then I think, wow, one of these days they're going to stumble into the furry fandom, or I'm going to hold their hand. And this is not the fandom I want them to see right now. I want them to see the fandom how I saw it as a kid, but better. Like, wow, this is an amazing place with people with interests like me. But I don't want them wondering, where are all the other, the other furries of color? Where are they? I want them to see them out front and center and be like, wow, this is a space for me, rather than going, wow, it's kind of a nice place to be. I want them to know that this is their home too, this is their space too, if they ever so choose it.
That is a damn valid and damn right thing to hope for and want. 100%. 100%. I couldn't have said it better myself, honestly, not.
I try.
I think you succeed.
Thank
So
you.
now we move on to family ties. So, what was it like growing up in your household?
Um, all good hero origin stories start with a little bit of trauma. Um,
Of course.
at home, I'm the youngest of two brothers, one who is a middle child, and my mom will bore it into our heads so often that we sometimes say it in unison. We're 11 months and a week apart, and my eldest brother, who is a whole 6 years older than me. And it started out with my dad because he's a mega nerd. Like, mega nerd. This man knows Star Trek and Star Wars, and that is just the tip of the iceberg. So, like, Saturdays was our favorite days because it was anime night, Toonami. But if
Mm-hmm.
Toonami didn't have what you want, my dad did. So he would play them all on the weekend, and we would watch it together. And then after the anime was done, we would take all of our stuffed animals and just reenact them, or we would reenact them because, you know, Dragon Ball Z was cool. And I thought yelling meant you get stronger, as every child did, and you gave yourself a headache. So I said, I might not have it, but maybe I could draw stuff like that. And then that's when it started for me, where home life was a setting, and it became an inspiration to be like, maybe there's other children who went through the same thing as me. And I started drawing my stories into there and drawing my characters into there. And then over time, they just so happened to have fur and ears and a tail, and they were subtly not human anymore. But it was a nice way to cope with some of the things that went on at home, because we are not rich, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
New York City is very expensive, and we are very not rich. We are very much poor. That is the nicest way of saying it. I would draw, like, things like, oh, my family has this much money, and my family has that much money. Because, fantasy, you want to get away from your actual real life. Growing up, though, I would draw, and my parents would see it, and they'd be like, this is cool. So what else do you like to do? And I'm like, I don't know. So after a while, they started noticing, oh, well, she's really taking this drawing thing seriously. And I'm only saying she because that's how my parents see me. I have not fully come out to them yet.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, she's really into artwork and all this stuff. And they started supporting me through it, like getting me that cute little zipper art set where the markers weren't great and the crayons weren't great and the everything wasn't great, but you could tell they cared. Um, and getting me my own sketchbook. It was from the 99-cent store because those sketchbook prices are evil. But they would encourage me to keep going, and they kept encouraging me over and over. They said, because they did want me originally. I wanted to be something like, I don't know, police officer, yikes, or like a singer, uh, or like in the military, double yikes. And they said, we we kind of don't care if you get much financial gain. I mean, it would be nice, but
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're doing something that makes you happy. And I realized, like, there were times where I thought it didn't make me happy, and maybe I'm just forcing this onto myself. But then I realized, yeah, art really does make me happy. It got me through some troubling times in my childhood. So,
Sounds like overall you had a pretty supportive family life, despite the circumstances.
roughly, yeah, got some supportive fam out there.
Did you ever experience colorism or feel excluded growing up?
Yes. Uh, the funny part is, like, I'm laughing about it now because I used to think I didn't. That's what was wild.
Hmm.
So, like, growing up when I was in school, because, I hung around the boys often because that's the only experience I have, hanging around with boys because two brothers. And
Mm-hmm.
I would hear them talk about how these girls are pretty and these girls are pretty and these girls are pretty. And I noticed that all of them just so happened to be complexions lighter than my own. And then, of course, my tiny self was like, well, am I pretty? And they were like, I mean, you're all right. You would be better if you look lighter. And I that kind of lingered, and I was just like, huh, can you make yourself lighter? Is that a thing? And then getting a little older, going into middle school, I noticed how oftentimes you'd be a bit more, the teachers would be a little bit more lenient. So, like, I always kept my hair in braids growing up, but the girls with the straight hair and the hair combed back and the presentable voice and all that, they had a lot more of an easier time. And see, I went to a well known middle school, so it was like a popular middle school for those growing up in, as they would say, the inner city. And the more presentable is like your hair laid down and your straight hair and comb back and proper voice and proper enunciation. But, not like slang where you just, well, where you just speak in a faster vernacular. That would be seen as unprofessional. You wouldn't get a job that way. They would beat it into our heads.
Right.
And after a while, I would just sit back and be like, let me just cope with the fact that maybe I'll never get a job because I'm not light skinned and straight haired. I'm just, medium tone, hoping for a chance. And if it wasn't like through then, it was like through the way I spoke, like they would assume that my skin tone was lighter because I don't often use slang when I'm just talking normally and not around my brothers. I just talk like this, where I'm just chatting, and then they'd be like, "Oh, you sounded white," or "Oh, you sounded so educated," and I was just like, "Oh, that sounds like a problem here."
Oh no, not white being edgy. Ugh.
Yep,
Oh
I got that often. That was a time. Just,
no. Yeah.
that your speaking, your enunciation of words isn't intuitive to your knowledge, right? Okay, just a thought, putting it out there, a suggestion.
Welcome to the middle of this episode. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to drop a sub or a follow. If you happen to be listening on Spotify or some other platform, be sure to check out the show notes where we link useful resources as well as extended versions of these episodes on Patreon if they're available. Don't forget to follow us at What's the Fuzz _ on Twitter. And if you happen to be a BIPOC listener out there, don't be afraid to reach out to us to see how you can take part in the show yourself. Okay, that's all. On with the show. How did you process that? Like, what helped you come to terms with how stupid they were being?
I didn't really contextualize it until I got into college. And not only did I meet other black people, because the college I went to was, I love my friends, I love my professors, I love, well, not all of them. I love them so much because they helped me get to where I am. But it was very much for white people. It was not meant for a poor black kid like myself. But
Right.
I met other black but I met other black students, and my friend, whom I'm always grateful to her to this day, my friends, they introduced me something to a club called Black Student Union, and that's when I was just like, wow, a place for us. And then I would hear how they would talk about colorism, and how they would talk about how they would demonize Av and like praise people for talking normal like regular English.
Right.
And I was just like, wow, I've heard all of these before. And I was just like, oh, so it wasn't me. They were just doing this.
Mm-hmm.
That is something. And then ever since then, I've just like been like, wow, I went through colorism. I've went through the whole, wow, you sound so educated. And they would hold on the educated, and I would notice. And I would just be like, way to show that you're racist, but not obviously.
So you were like, something's wrong here, but I can't quite tell what's wrong here.
Yeah, like I would be like, wow, that compliment question mark made me feel gross about myself. What's that
Mm.
for? And then when I went to BSU, they put a name to it, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's probably why it feels gross. And ever since then, I was just like, yeah, that's the actual name to it. That's why I felt gross all these years.
Or at least now you can start degrossifying yourself, right?
Oh yeah,
Or or
it's
overdriving the grossness. I can go either way.
it's like fun because I'll like my partner recently came over to like spend time with me around my birthday. We were very safe. I will put that out there right now. We were very safe. We took
Okay.
precautions. We took the COVID test. We were 6 feet apart, mask, everything, the whole shebang. We were
Damn.
very safe because, like, we have important family members to us that we would be heartbroken and pretty much shattered if we were the reason they got sick. So, that's just a disclaimer. But it's a lot of fun because I would just talk like this around them, and we're both comfortable. And then I got around my mom and my brothers, and the way I code switched instantly was just like, oh. And I didn't even notice it until I started talking to her, like talking to them again, and I was just like, oh, did I just? Whoa. I wonder how they felt. And it's also kind of funny because I did it while I was in college too, and
Mm.
my friends would look at me because I went from talking like this to talking with one of my black friends and being like, "Hey, bro, what's good, bro? You got the lesson for today? Hey, yo, pass the homework." And they would just be like, "Huh? That's interesting. Nice. Nat, what the hell was that?" And it's just kind of funny to see like the shock look on their face, like, "Oh, oh, wow, didn't know they could do that." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we call that code. Yeah."
So different to be self-aware of these things that go on, because it's just like a muscle memory after a while, right?
Yeah, like it's like when I'm setting up to draw and I'm just like this click, this click, this click, this click. That's how I feel whenever I code switch. So when I
Mm-hmm.
just come out of the like rhythm, I'm just like, oh wow, how long have I been doing that? Huh. And then I'm just like, oh, cool. And then as the evil mastermind that I am, you learn how to play with
How
it
do
to
you
see how many
feel
people can
about
you.
TV shows and other media slowly including more queer characters?
Um, I love it with all of my heart. Like, the best example I can give is She-Ra, and I will put a content warning for She-Ra due to them making that one really weird racist joke, but they are doing better. At least that's what I'm seeing from a distance. And like She-Ra, when they showed two lesbians who were very much obviously in love, I was just like, oh, so we're just doing this. Cool. And then my thought was, oh, well, I mean, Netflix won't let them get away with all of that, would they? And then, spoiler, the lesbians kiss. And I'm like, huh, this is, wow. So if Netflix can do it, and then I would go on TV and I would see, like, queer-coded characters openly being queer, and I'm just like, oh, so we're allowing this now. Oh, and I would get, like, so stoked and be like, these characters are openly gay, and if you have a problem, you always have the remote to change the channel to find another heterosexual show at your disclosure. And it's nice because my nephews watch it, and they're like, wow, so girls can have a girlfriend? And I'm like, yeah. And you're like, cool. And boys can have a boyfriend? And I'm like, yeah. And you're like, is it, and that's just it? And I'm like, yeah, that's it, really. I mean, you just smooch who you want to smooch. And it's also nice because my brothers were kind of homophobic, but once they started seeing the cartoons, it started changing their heads. So they're just like, oh, so you just date people? I'm like, yeah, that's the gist. Like, I date people regardless of their gender. Sounds like pansexuality, but really, it's just, I date people, I smoosh people. It's normal. You do the same thing. And I think that's why it makes me extremely happy because, one, kids get to see it and it becomes normalized for them. And adults who love cartoons, who are into that, oh, the gay people are pushing their agenda, that bullshit rhetoric. When they watch it, they learn that, wow, what was I so stressed about? These are just people. And that's what makes me the most happy about it. Especially when, like, again, bringing it back to She-Ra, they introduced a trans character, because it used to be the Star Sisters and now it's the Star Siblings. And they introduced a non-binary character, which we're still working on making them not a lizard shape-shifting creature, but their name is Double Trouble, and that it opens people's eyes to the fact that queer people are normal. We just love different genders, and we just represent different genders. We have pronouns, just like you do. We are normal. Just respect us. That's all we ask. And that's what makes me really happy about it being integrated now.
So I'm thinking that this whole idea that queer people are being normalized seems kind of threatening in a way because being cishet is just kind of the standard to most people. You know what I mean? So when you
Yeah,
see something different, it feels like even if it's not actually harmful, it is harmful because it's putting ideas out there. And then they take it to the most logical extreme, which in some cases is the fall of the United States or something like that.
oh, very much so. Like, like how I originally saw it as threatening, is that there's been nothing but years and years of programming that cis heterosexuality is the norm and is always the norm. And that is what we're supposed to be because it's normal. And when you see queer representation and queer people, you have to show them as weird. Like, when I was growing up, they would, I mean, except for the Proud Family, really, they would show them as, like, the one with the weird sparkles and the voice and the twang and oh, we don't really talk to him much. He freaks us out, and it's just them being,
It's
you
a
know, queer.
spectacle, yeah.
And you're just like, but they don't seem weird. But it was programmed to make us weird, make us think that they're being weird. So when they see the queer-friendly shows coming up, and those with, like, say, um, a bisexually led character or someone who openly states on screen, "Hey, I'm gay," they go, "Damn it, they're deprogramming what we've told them to believe." And it threatens them because once you deprogram, you have your people starting to ask questions. Why was I taught this? Why is it still this way? And you can't really have much of a hold over them because they
Mm-hmm.
start thinking, hey, if this was a lie, what else is a lie? And it goes from there.
What drives you to continue animating? Because it's such a time-consuming process.
um, there are many answers, and the two that I come up with the most is, damn it, if nobody's going to make the content I crave, I'm going to make the content I crave. And one day, my dream is to see a cartoon that I came up with all by myself on the big screen, portrayed to all people all over the place, and they're enjoying it just as much as I did writing it. So that's what keeps me going for animating. And other times I say, it's the coffee and the mashed potatoes. I survive on that and that alone.
Should we be expecting a NatCatSama cartoon series? NatCatSama with friends? With
I
benefits?
um I won't lie, that is in the works. Like, I currently did a thing where I was just like, hey, my wonderful Twitter mutuals, if I did a faux anime intro, who would want to be in it? And a bunch of them commented down, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Drop your ref sheets, and they all did. And I came up with powers, I came up with, like, team coordination, came up with the villains, and the only thing that's stopping me right now is the fact that I need money and need to do commissions. And I'm just like, can't wait to work on this personal pet project when I'm stable, which is starting a lot to sound like when this quarantine is over.
When they talked about the Garfield and Friends reboot, I didn't think it would be quite like this, but I appreciate the work that you're putting in.
Oh, my heart, stop.
Did you actually like that show?
Yeah.
That's wholesome. Absolutely wholesome. My favorite one was the one that was stuck in the egg. Now I need you to tell me what your favorite piece is and what makes it your favorite.
Oh boy.
Going through the
Shocking.
reels in your mind, just the one.
I have three. One of them was when I drew Nat with the lightning ball in his hand. And it's my favorite because I had a favorite Sonic artist who would draw stuff like that all the time, like it was a cakewalk. And I was like, God, I wish I could draw like that. And so, in the back of my mind, I have been practicing and waiting for this moment. And to see it actually come to fruition all together, it made my heart explode. And I was like, if Child Nat could see me right now, they would be screaming in joy. Another one, which I haven't really finished yet, but the other piece before it was one where I did To Marble Soda, and it's like a weird song by Sean Wasabi. It's a nice, fun song that takes me back to good times. Um, it was my favorite because it was stuff I hadn't tried before, and it came out really nice. And then over the years, I was just like, what if I just restart that drawing? And then I would see how much I've grown, how I would tackle certain aspects of the piece, and how well it came out. And it was like a nice little reminder of how much I'm growing, and it's like a nice little comfort piece. And the third one was a gift I drew for Tanya's song because I had envisioned it of like her Sona sitting enjoying her time by the riverside. And then I started listening to the music, and then once I started listening more to the music, I just kind of got into it. And then I realized how much fun it is to draw art for other people and how relaxing it is for you to get into the rhythm, and instead of thinking about the expectations of how many likes it's going to get, how far is this going to spread, I just think, ooh, what if I use this color here and what if I use this color there? And it also made me happy, like when I was a kid, drawing gift art for my friends, but it's like somebody who I've looked up to in the fandom. I'm drawing gift art and I can't wait to see their reaction. Instead of, man, I hope this gets enough likes. Man, I hope this spreads far enough. It's, man, I can't wait to see how they'll feel when they see this. And that's a feeling that I'll admittedly say I haven't had in quite some time, but I'm starting to bring it back to myself and it feels really amazing.
What would be a good way to push for diversity in art?
Um, there's my answer, which is, they're going to complain, so give them a reason to complain.
True.
Because looking at Blacktober, that was fun, but oh, look at all those angry people. Yikes. And also creating your own stuff. Like I enjoyed Blacktober because I was nervous about, like, for example, I was doing My Little Pony characters as black people. I was so nervous about dropping my Rainbow Dash design that I had thought about it. I sat there, I corrected every line, I colored every
Oh,
location. I was just like, please don't say mean things about my art. And then
that
I
was my
posted it.
favorite one.
Yeah, see, that blew me away to see to hear that, and I was just like, ah, people like this, and to hear that it's your favorite, I'm just like, I should draw more. Like, I sat there panicking the entire time, like somebody's gonna go over there and do the fake stay for you, or they're going to like send me awful things. And then I just said, you know what? They're gonna be mad. Fuck it. Just be mad. Here, look at it. Be salty for no reason. And then the other thing was like, I remember it being 2016, 2017, and other. I think I don't think that's when it happened, but I think that was around the time of like more like less. It wasn't as big as last year, the Black Lives Matter protests,
Hmm.
but I got so pissed and so angry that I came up with a series of my own where it's like this black girl. Well, I changed to a black non-binary lesbian because love her. Well, love them. They lose their brain when they see a really pretty lady. Um, they're just chilling and having a wonderful time. They're working to be an engineer. They have cats, like stray cats, they help out on the street where they would see an amputee cat and they'd be like, oh, baby, and make them a mechanical leg. And I had it where the spirit of a lioness would fuse with her through, like, I was going to say, Selket. Or I was looking up who the goddess of cats was in ancient Egypt. Anyway, um, through the hair power, they would fuse, and unlike, werewolf things, they could control it. And they would kill corrupt politicians, racists, fascists. They would just go on a rampage, murdering them. And the world is to be better for it.
So, what was your 2020 like?
Um, so it started out like everyone else 2020. You're living life. You're interacting with people. Like the last public thing I did with like family all together was celebrating my nephew's 7th birthday at Nickelodeon Universe. And that was an exhausting day. But he was happy. I was happy. Sweet. No, actually, the last thing I did was see the Sonic movie for a second time. And that was with my partner when I was in Buffalo. And then the unfortunate part was quarantine happened. And my partner was like, I guess we're stuck with us until like quarantine's over. But then, I saw the Black Lives Matter protests happening in my city, and I said I have to go home because I wouldn't feel right. I participated in like 2 of them while I was in Buffalo, but I said I wouldn't feel right if my city is protesting and I'm not home.
Mm-hmm.
And then the problem when I got home was that my mom didn't want me to go out there and protest because she was afraid for my well-being. And there's a lot of things that I will happily ignore from my mom and be like, Mom, you're stressing out over nothing. I'm going. But this one I took serious because she's seen how bad it can get. She's down here. Of course she's going to see how bad it can get. And the last thing she would ever want to see is like one of her kids having to go to the hospital. So I was going to put her through that. So I was just like, I'll just keep speaking on my activism at home on Twitter when I can and retweet important information. And that's as far as my extent. And then I noticed that watching, well, especially there was this one bit that happened in 2020 that got to me, and a whole bunch of black creatives badly was when all of those animation studios and animation companies and art studios and art companies are like, Black artists, we hear your struggle and everything. Why don't you apply to our studios and we'll get right on to hiring you and we'll share your information and X, Y, and Z. And though I was drained and tired and depressed from seeing nothing but black bodies in pain and suffering, I said, sure, I'll cobble up a reel together and send it in. And I got some replies, but then they ghosted us, and we haven't heard from them since. And that really rubs salt in the wound to all of the black artist community. So from then on, it was just me trying to mentally tell myself that I'm still a good artist. It's not me. I promise you, it's not me. And after a while, it just started feeling more depressed, but still trying to churn out art and working and just ignoring how I feel until my mom and my partner were like, okay, you're not looking great, kid. You should probably take a break. So I would take like little spurt breaks to get through it all. And then before I knew it, it was October, and I didn't understand that. And then I started trying to going like, well, 2020 sucked, but I'm going to try and push through and pull through, and I'm going to see 23, damn it, because I was more worried because around my neighborhood, the police parole like crazy. So it's just like, man, really would suck if I was attacked by the police right now. And that was just like a really dark thing to tell myself, but it kept me going, weirdly. And the rest of 2020 just happened. Like, some good things happened, and I was just like, wow, this is a relief. And then a whole lot more bad things happened, and I was just like, wow, sounds about right. And then 2021 came, and I was just like, wow, that was a year. Let's make it better. And I guess that's where I am right now.
Gotcha. Gotta say, I'm not surprised that your mom wouldn't let you outside because the NYPD is absolute banana ape shit.
Oh, yeah, like, the police presence around where I live increased since last summer, and it's stomach churning and also scary. You just go, why are you here? There's nothing happening here. You don't have to make a quota. Why are you here? So like, I wasn't even going to argue with my mom. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna stay home.
Did 2020 mark a change in your political views?
Um, not really. Like, I've been here, like, where I'm like, I want the best change possible, please. But 2020 did do something, like, it wiped away my political apathy, where I was like, I'm gonna fight, but whatever happens, happens. To, oh no, we are going to get this change because this is ridiculous at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And
It radicalized you then.
yeah, it's just like, it went from me going, I want it to be better, but I'm not expecting much, to, oh no, I want it to be better. I will make it better, and I expect better. And I am very thankful for that because being complacent gets nothing done.
We all had to learn that one the hard way.
Yeah.
So, do you have high hopes for 2021?
Um, yes and no. I'm I have high hopes in terms of how far we can push it to be better than 2020 and improve our lives really, but I don't have high hopes because already we're starting to see a little bit of history repeating itself. Like, we've got the most awful, well, one of the most awful people out of office. Yay! We gotta keep working
Mm.
now. And you see people go, but my job here is done. I can go back to being, this no longer affects me. I can sit and enjoy my time. And the rest of us are like, no, we have work to do. And they're like, it's too much work. We did our part, right? We voted him out. It's like,
Yeah.
no, work. So, a little on that one.
It's not time to calm down and enjoy brunch quite
Uh,
yet,
oh, not at all.
unfortunately.
You gotta throw hands, man, because they are all too excited for you to just be like, man, I'm tired of fighting. What if I just sit down real quick? Because that's when they come in tenfold, and we can't have that again.
Because unfortunately, 45 was just the tip of the iceberg. He was the most prominent. He was like a big, fat, throbbing, bulging zit on the face of your cousin, and you can't stop looking at it. And you want to touch and poke it. And you just want to like grab and pry it off his face.
It, like, really all he did was go, here are a couple of the people who believe in my ideology, and now he's gone, and those people who believe in his ideology are emboldened because nothing's happened to them, really, at all. And now we have to be like, dude, I don't know how to tell you this, but they're still a threat. And now that they know that nothing much will happen to them, we gotta keep going. And there's no
Hmm.
break here.
To be fair, there are arrests rolling out for the people that stormed the Capitol, but when
Oh,
you think about it, to have these people like at the point where they stormed the Capitol, that means that the people that have been throttled but were maybe like unable to go to the Capitol, or like they're in the middle or the moderate, but they still like very much believe that Trump won the election, or that they
yeah.
believe in QAnon. Like, there's so many layers to this that's not just Orange Man bad. Well, Orange
Like,
Man is bad. There's more than just Orange Man.
like,
There's a lot.
we've watched them storm the Capitol, but those are the people who were bold enough to come out and do it. Now
Mm-hmm.
imagine those who were just watching saying, how far can we go with this without really getting in trouble? They watch people who think like them not really get in much trouble, though there are arrests and very people for that. Let's
Exactly.
keep that up. Um, when they watch, they were able to storm the Capitol, they're going to start getting bolder and it's going to become a whole lot less safe.
Yep.
And we cannot sit down and go, well, Orange Man out. My job done. Yay. They'll just hide. Let them hide. Maybe they can reform themselves. Ha ha ha. Like, no, this is still very much a problem. Guys, all it did was just awaken something that probably should be stomped out with, like, steel-toed boots, guys. Don't sit. You gotta keep going.
Yeah, this is definitely not the time to be complacent when we still have media outlets like Fox News, which aren't technically news stations, they're entertainment companies, which means they can spew out lies and have basically no repercussions. So they're going to keep lying till the end of time, basically, because that's their thing, that's their grift. And then we
Yeah,
have the Republican Party, the entirety of the Republican Party, um, sans maybe 10 of them that voted to impeach Trump, but uh, honestly, like the entire Republican Party this past year has gone full, absolutely insane amounts of Nazi. Like, if you watched the
yeah,
RNC, if you watched half of Trump's speeches, if you watched any appearances of legislators or Congress people, like on uh, like Tucker Carlson or something, and you just listen to them. You just have to listen to them spew out garbage straight from their assholes right up through their throats, just spewing it everywhere. They don't care because they know they can get away with it and nothing will happen because they're
and
the ones that have the power. Even when the Democrats have the power,
it's so
they don't do anything
scary
with it.
because, like, people will eat this up, and literally, like, as you said, the Democrats have the power. The problem is that they refuse, as they say, to stoop to their level when you should be just as aggressive towards them as they are to you, because the way Fox News spews this garbage, and the people who eat this up and go, yeah, that's right, no, they're speaking logic, when they're very much clearly not. Like, the amount of misinformation that Fox News spew is so dangerous. Like, it could literally get people killed. And people are like, no, it's fine. No, I mean, they have a right to press. And yes, they do. Freedom of speech and whatnot. But they are not free from criticism and consequence. And watching them move on without consequence is what's concerning. Because Fox News spews it, people eat it up, and it spreads like a disease.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Especially when the Republicans managed to fucking they got Amy COVID Barrett like two it took like 2 weeks to swear her in, I'm pretty sure. Like they threw her into that freaking judgment chair like it was nothing.
They practically
And
rolled out the
Democrats
red
think that they
carpet.
don't need to stoop to that level? I mean, are you crazy?
Yeah, the whole they go low, we go high nonsense. I'm so far over it that I bought a plane ticket, landed across the border, and I have made a whole new life over here. You will go as low as them, if not lower. So they invited Amy Coney Barrett. Sweet. Add 3 more Democratic judges in there.
Exactly. Exactly.
The third one
If
because you were feeling fancy.
if they go low, we need to cut their heels. We need to go
Yeah,
lower.
fuck that. We're better than them bullshit. Oh no, we are on that same level and we will go lower.
All this effort to win just to lose in the end. I don't want to see
Yeah,
it. I don't want to see it.
we poured so much work in and we still have more to do. Do not backpedal now, please. We have children, people of color, black people, indigenous people. We are all fighting to live in a world that was really taken from us. And we've been given a shorter share and told, hey, you can have this bit, but, every few weeks I get to take a little bit more away from you and make you fight for it harder. It's just our contract right here. Thank you so much. Can't have that again. No, fuck it. We need to keep going.
Exactly, we are well past that measure. Now I got
Yeah.
only 2 questions left for you.
Oh my.
So, who are some BIPOC furs out there that are doing cool shit you want to shout out?
I will start by saying Xeon Vibe.
Yeah,
That's
Xeon's great.
his. Oh, Xeon. I was saying it differently. Whoops. But that's his not safe for work account, but follow his safe for work account. It's really good art. He's an amazing artist. He deserves every last follower, every last bit of support he gets, and I will die on that hill 4 times over. Another one I would highly recommend is, I don't know if they pronounce it this way, but definitely Honey Kaiju. They're really cool. I think that their art is amazing. They might argue me down on this, but I think their art is amazing. I think their characters are amazing. And they blow me away with so much of how much they can create. And I just sit there in awe and go, holy crap. And they just inspire me to go for it. I spent 30 minutes gushing about, like, Tanya's song, of course. But also, I want to recommend 2 furs who've been getting me into, like, wanting to go for graphic design more. And that would be Wolf Strikes and definitely Gauzy, but as their, like, handle is called, Light Skinned Tiger. And definitely Pibble King. Like,
Hmm.
their work is really, I love Pibble King's artwork, especially when they have, like, the geometric shapes going. Like, they don't even notice, I don't know if they notice it, but I notice it every time, and I'm just like, damn.
Gauzy's
First off,
Gazzy, though.
is Gazzy?
Yeah.
That's weird.
I interviewed him, like, a while ago.
That's weird. But it's Gazzy. We respect it, bro. I love his art. It's so fun. Like, his art is so fun, and I
It's
just
pretty
imagine
cute.
it animated. It's just, like, it's so fun to look at. Oh my god. Um, Wolf Strikes, I one of these days, I will have enough money to go into their merch store and go bonkers, because some of the work they create just makes me go, shit, dude. Dude. And then I just spend a good 30 minutes staring at it, and I'm just like, dude. Um, Man, I have a lot of people I would love to shout out, but I'm blanking on their names.
It's all
I
good. I'll
promise.
add some more later if you link me to them later.
Oh, of course. Um,
Works out for me.
I don't. I mean, uh, hmm, hmm. I will shout out my partner
Okay, that's
because
cheating, but who is it?
I love them. They're sweet fab. Their name is on Twitter. They go by Mocha Mocha, so it's like MOKA_, and then you know how you spell, like, Mocha.
Hmm, that name rings the bell. Maybe I've seen them around.
They're a sweet, loving person, and I love them with all my heart. And that is the mushiest you'll get out of me. Um,
Aw, that's cute.
it's not cute.
Alright, I think that's enough BIPOC folk that you've shouted out.
Yeah.
Last question is, what is your favorite thing about being a furry?
Um, might sound like cheating, but I love the endless possibilities. There's no strings attached to who you create and what you create. I mean, there is, you're the artist, or you're the creator, but I mean, right now, I feel like I vibe with Nat. Maybe 5 years down the line, I might vibe with a maned fox, whatever they're called, and I'll just be like, damn, I vibe with this long leggy boy, and I can just change into long leggy boy. I love how I'm free to explore how I want to identify, you know, not. I'll I'll want to choose how I want to choose my persona. Be like, hey, this is how I want to be seen. My persona. This is my persona, boys. Respect that. And they do. Or if I go, okay, well, I'm done being an alien cat. I wish to be a dog. They'll be like, lit. We vibe with that. And I'll come in and I'll be like, hey, I am an agender, bisexual, fur. Respect that. And they do. Rather than feeling like, man, these are great things, but let's put it in a box for now. We'll open it later. Like, what I love the most about Furry is that there are no real strings attached to your identity, how you choose to present yourself. You can present yourself in any other way you like, and people respect that. And that's what I think holds the magic within the furry community.
Alright, that does it for this episode. Thanks again to you, Nat, for coming down on the show and chatting with me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah, I'll have you anytime you want. Well, maybe. You've got the spotlight to promote anything you like. 3, 2, 1, go!
So, Twitter handle, NatCatSama. And that is for everyone. And that is all I will say about that. My website is natcatsama.weebly.com. You can catch my works in progress and my wonderful portfolio. I have a YouTube called Nat Nero. I have no intention of changing that name, but you'll find my animations there. Been getting into Warriors a lot recently. And if you just want to chat, you can just shoot me a DM on Discord, and I am open to talk. And I am open to talk Twitter.
Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at whatsthefuzz_. And be sure to follow Nat as well. Thanks everybody for listening. See you next time. Bye!